Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and welcome to our descent preparation tutorial in the fly-by-wire Airbus A380. Now, you will probably be used to starting your descent preparation about 80 miles out from the top of descent. On the long hauls we normally do it a little bit earlier, because number one, you just don't fly that much. For that reason, you're not as familiar with the airports as you might be on the short-haul networks when you fly to the same place, every couple times a week. And on the other hand side, we normally take a little bit extra time so that we're finished a little bit before the top of descent. The reason is we want to avoid doing a setup in the descent, as most airports that you will fly your widebody aircraft into will normally be rather large and therefore rather busy. Now, right now we're about 120 miles out from the top of descent, and this is already a rather late point in time to start our approach preparation, but let's go for it. So we're going to start by setting up the electronic flight bag, in particular our charts. So let's go over to the charting page and collect our arrival charts. We're going to start over here. We are flying to Osaka Kansai Airport, and we are going to collect our arrival charts over here. So we've got the Alicia arrival, which we can select. Then we have selected the ILS Yankee approach on runway 06 left. So let's go ahead and pin that one as well, if it lets us. Here we go. And last but not least, let's go ahead and have a look at the taxi charts, where we want to see not only the general airport layout, but also if there are any dedicated charts to our A380 operation. You can see down here, we've got one, and that is probably what we want to use. So, landing on 06 left, vacating over here, and you can see that only a couple of certain taxiways are actually approved for operation in the Airbus A380. So we want to make sure that these are indeed the taxiways that we are going to be using. Alright, so let's pin that chart, and last but not least, we do have our approved gates available on here as well. So you can see gate 101, 31 and 28 are the only gates that we can use with our A380 on top of those two over here. So, now that we have selected our charts, we can go ahead and start our actual arrival preparation. Likewise, I am just going to go to the edit page over here to remove any of our departure charts, so that we only have the arrival ones over here. So, first things first, we are once again going to go into the FMS. And there's a couple of things that we are going to do over here. We start on the flight plan page, so you can either press flight plan down here, or you can go onto active and then select flight plan. And over here we are going to verify that our arrival agrees with the chart. So let's select the plan mode, select an appropriate zoom level, such as for example 40, and then we can start strolling until we reach our arrival so that we can check it all. Now, in order to not have to look to the side all the time, I am going to give you the Navigraph chart app on screen over here so that we can see everything at the same time. So, coming in from Alicia up here, we are going from Alicia towards Tanta, which is above 6,000 feet, and down here we've got Alicia and then Tanta above 6,000. We proceed on towards Nalto, and thereafter we are going to proceed via Asami, Beagle, Barry onto the final approach. So we've got Nalto, Asami, Beagle, and then Barry, which is above 4,000 feet, which matches our flight plan. From there, let's go ahead and have a look into our approach chart itself, which is the ILS Yankee approach onto runway 06 left. Starting in Barry, 4,000 feet, on towards Bola, also in 4,000, and thereafter we have a 3-degree glide slope, as we can see down here. And we can observe that 3-degree glide slope on the right hand side of our FMS as well. Next up, we're going to check the missed approach, which is climb to 500 feet on the heading of 059. So we've got heading 059, 500 feet, and then turn left heading 241 to intercept and proceed outbound Kilo India Echo VOR, radial 286 to Lilac, and hold at 3000, contact Kansai approach. So we've got the runway heading to 500, heading 241 to intercept, course 286, inbound to Lilac, climbing to 3000 feet. And that is our flight plan completely checked. Now, next up we are going to do our performance. So we go to active, performance, descent, and over here we can pre-select any speed we might need. So, for example, the speed schedule we see over here of Mach 8.4 and 276 knots on conversion may be a little bit slow for certain airports. Flying into the United States, for example, I would normally select a speed of 300 knots, as that is simply going to provide us with a little bit nicer traffic flow. Next we go to the approach page, and over here we are going to enter the present weather information. So let's get it from Navigraph over here to make our life easy. So we've got the wind of 030 at 19. So let's enter the winds down here, 030, enter, 19, enter. The temperature currently is 21 degrees Celsius, and then we have the QNH, which is 1014. Now, whenever we select the QNH down here, it is good practice to also select the QNH, or to pre-select the QNH up here and up here already, so that we have it readily available when we need it on the approach. Next up, our minimum, and since we are not flying a category 2 or 3 approach, but since we are flying an ILS Cat 1, we are going to enter the barometric minimum at 209. Last but not least, we go over to the right hand side and select our landing configuration. Now, config 3 provides some fuel savings without having an adverse effect on our approach. However, due to the strong headwind that we have here of 17 knots, we gotta make sure that our V approach stays within limits. So config full today gives us 147 knots already, and we really don't want that to go up too high. So what are we gonna do? Well, we are once again going to do some calculations. So let's go ahead and open SimBrief and check our landing data over here. So SimBrief, landing performance, and then we can go ahead and calculate. So Osaka, 06 left, we have the full runway available. Now we need our landing weight. The landing weight is rather easy to find out, so we can simply read it off the top right of our approach page. So 337.9 is going to be our landing weight for the day. So 337,900. Landing flux full, brake setting optimum, reverser yes. 5 knots of VREF additive, well, the airplane does that automatically. So let's just hit calculate and see what we're going to come up with. So flux full, auto brakes 1 gives us a factored landing distance of 2059 meters, which means that we have a margin of 2000 meters to stop. Easy going, nothing to worry about. So we are going to stick to config full today because of the approach speeds. Just to show you, if we selected config 3, we would approach at 151 knots, which we don't want to do. So let's stick to config full. You do not need to do any correction to the V approach speed. You can see the airplane is doing that automatically. If I enter 0 knots of wind now, you can see how the V approach immediately becomes VLS plus 5. However, if I add the 19 knots back in here, you can see how it automatically applies the correction to that. Easy going, isn't it? Last but not least, we verify our transition level and then go to the go-around page and verify our thrust reduction and acceleration. 1500 by default is a good number. And last but not least, we are also going to enter our engine out acceleration, which is going to be the MSA, so 4,200 feet in this case. However, since the missed approach altitude is below that, only 3,000, I am going to use an engine out acceleration altitude that equals the missed approach altitude, so 3000 feet into here. And that concludes our setup of the FMS. The next thing we are going to do is to set up our auto brakes, and the A380 has a feature that is really handy here. That is the brake to vacate feature. Now, I'm going to do a dedicated video where I explain brake to vacate in more details. For now, let's have a look at how we set it up. First things first, we go to the plan mode, and then we go down into the zoom setting and select our landing airport. You can see by default this remains our departure airport, Incheon. So how do we select the landing airport? You go into the arrows down here, airport select, and on the right side you've got your FMC destination and alternate. So let's select the destination and go into display airport. Depending on the complexity of the airport, this might take a while, so don't be surprised if you keep seeing the please wait for a time. Alright, here we are. So landing on 06 left, the first thing we do is we can move around by simply clicking and dragging. Now first of all select the landing runway 06 left over here. Then you can see two figures pop up. One of them is the dry runway landing distance, the other is the wet runway landing distance. Now we do not normally want to select anything that's shorter than the wet distance. Today Bravo 7 is just about at the wet marking, so I am going to use that exit over here, and actually it is Bravo 6. So let's select Bravo 6 down here, and you can see BTV now gives us a little bit of information there. When both the runway and the exit are selected, then you can put the auto brake selector into the BTV position, and with that we can observe our FMA, which shows us BTV in blue below our speed indication, showing that brake to vacate is now active, and the aircraft is automatically going to brake in order to vacate at the Bravo 6 intersection. Well, and that's about as easy as it is to arm the brake to vacate function. Well, and this concludes our descent preparation. I do hope that you found this video interesting and learned something. Be sure to leave your feedback in the video description below. And last but not least, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. And if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.